Hello, we are the behavior benders. My name is Mia.
My name is Travis.
My name's Darwit.
And Joe.
Today we will be using the analysis from the group Facebook channel and our own research into their target market of singles aged 65 years and over to then develop a new promotional concept and strategy to effectively alter this market's perception, decision-making, and subsequent behaviour regarding the serious and growing danger that is fatigue driving on Victorian roads. The target market. Was the target market adequately profiled by Facebook channel? No, Facebook channel's target market is Australian singles aged 65 and above, also known as the baby boomers. Baby boomers like to make purchases that reflect their values. They are more likely than other age groups to demonstrate their patriotism by actively seeking locally made products. They unfortunately did not adequately profile their target market. One of the reasons for this is because FB channel suggests that the reasoning for older Australians driving old cars could be due to financial struggle. This is a false claim. 65 to 74-year-olds have significantly more wealth than the rest of the age groups. As seen in the figure from 2015 to 16 by ABS Household Income and Wealth, they stated that if Australians aged 65 to 74 have $100 in comparison to all other age groups which will have less. For example, those aged 35 to 44 will have Australians have better financial stability than the rest of the population. Furthermore, they stated that old drivers tend to use and drive older cars. This, however, is another false claim that doesn't truly reflect this demographic. Over to Travis, who will go into more detail over how this is false.
Thanks, Mia. So according to humanrights.gov.au, Australia is an ageing population. By 2050, the 65 plus Australian demographic will account for 1/4 of Australia's population. To further highlight what is happening with this segment of our population, by 2025, the 65 and overs will have a greater population than 0 to 14-year-olds. Our statistics will show that there is a direct correlation between more of our country's population entering the 65 plus demographic and more new car purchases. In fact, surveys from 2007 to 2017 show that there was a 14% increase. Old drivers tend to use and drive old cars, is what FB channel suggests. However, according to Green Car Congress in 2017, seniors aged 65 drivers at 91%. This data was comprised from surveys from more than 50,000 face-to-face interviews. As quoted by Roy Morgan, it shows how there is a consistent drop in the proportion of younger drivers who are driving, particularly in the 18-25 and 25-29 age group. When discussing fatigue drivers, the 65 plus category, a Budget Direct survey shows that they are a lot less likely to feel tired while driving, showing how only 3.7% of this age demographic say they feel tired at least once a week behind the wheel. Whereas 18 to 24 demographic shows that they feel tired at least 43.3% a week, showing how there's a focus should be predominantly on that age demographic rather than seniors. Clearly showing that 65 plus age demographic is one of the most competent to be driving. As well as that, the operant conditioning theory tells us that we learn through either positive or negative reinforcement or punishment. The TAC campaign over the years has been unashamedly in your face and on occasions very graphic in their messaging about what the consequences and when not to follow the laws of driving. They have been considered to be effective enough to be used in other countries such as Sweden. When we see a TAC commercial, we automatically know that there is something to do with the prevention of potential road fatalities or injuries. They talk about what penalties will be dished out and what possible outcomes could potentially occur, such as injury or death. These commercials, which started in 1989, could be considered quite successful as statistics in the first 20 years of these commercials running, showing that road fatalities dropped from 76 to 303. The fact that 65 plus drivers are one of the lowest category of fatalities and injuries, you could assume that these ads resonate with elderly drivers. Back over to you, Mia.
FB Channel's video only implemented Facebook as their marketing platform. They didn't use enough channels and therefore most likely missed out on a large sample group. Senior citizens constitute a significant part of the consumer market. By 2020, 16.1% of the population is going to be 65 years or older, which accounts for 4 million in total. Yet marketing to seniors is often ignored by many Australian companies. As stated in the 2018 Yellow Social Media Report, 95% of older people watch television, so TV ads are a great way to reach older consumers. In addition to this, the 2018 Care Connect Connectivity Report showed that 87% of Australians aged over 70 still use email regularly. As more and more senior Australians are using the internet, online ads should be an essential part of your strategy in marketing to them. Over to Darwit.
Thanks, Mia. Our third argument as to why this campaign strategy won't work and isn't effective is the target market's use of mobile phones. The FB channel talks about the target market using their phone more often now because of the pandemic, but don't mention what they're using their phone for. Most people aged 65 and over are not using their phone to check ads or scroll through social media apps. Instead, they use it to communicate with family and friends. According to a research carried out by LNA Social and Pure Profile, 86% of people aged 65 and over said they use social media to communicate with their family and friends. Another reason why FB channel's campaign strategy will be ineffective is the number of people aged 70 plus with a smartphone. A survey conducted by the Australian government states that only 57% of people aged 70 and over don't have access to a smartphone. More than half the target market not having access to a smartphone reduces the likelihood of the campaign being effective, as it wouldn't reach a fair amount of people in the target market. Furthermore, I'll be talking about the consumer decision-making model. The first step in the consumer decision-making model is recognizing the problem. Recognizing the problem allows for consumers to work out ways in order to stop the problem or reduce its effects. The ad appeals to their emotions and aims to make the target market feel guilty for driving while fatigued and putting others at risk while on the road. The guilt from recognizing this problem may motivate the target market to find a solution in order to be safer on the roads. A problem in FB channel strategy, though, is that their strategy doesn't reach a wide audience as they intended, as only just over half of 70-year-olds and over have access to a smartphone, and thus a large part of the target market may not be aware of the effects of fatigue to their driving. The second step in the consumer decision-making model is information search. The target market is old and might find it difficult to analyze different alternatives and come up with a good solution as their memory has been impacted. Their long-term memory might be affected due to their age and thus resulting in more difficult decision-making regarding searching for information. Their memory capacity is also lower than other groups, making it harder for them to remember ads and their slogans. External sources such as family and friends are also likely to be called upon when searching in order to find an alternative. After collecting information, the next step in the CDM model is evaluating alternatives. An influence in the target market's ability to evaluate alternatives is their perception towards products. Older people are found to be more likely to purchase products or services they have first-hand experience or have heard good things about from family and friends. The target market's perception of products and services will reduce the number of alternatives and help them come to a solution. As older people invest less time evaluating alternatives compared to younger age groups. A problem with FB channel strategy is they never mention a solution to the issue of fatigue in drivers age 65 and over, leaving the target market to find their own alternatives. After evaluating the alternatives, consumers will get to a decision and purchase a product or service. An influence on the target market's outlet selection and product purchase is social surroundings. Their family and friends might not be a massive influence on their product purchase, but they do play a role as the target market will want to keep them and their family and friends safe while on the road. The post-purchase evaluation is a factor that determines if the target market is likely to continue using this product or service or look elsewhere for an alternative. The target market's post-purchase evaluation and overall satisfaction can be influenced by their antecedent state. If the product or service can reduce their feelings of fatigue while driving, it will satisfy the consumer as they want to reduce the risks of their driving due to fatigue. Here's Joseph to talk about our new campaign.
Thanks, DeWitt. Our campaign is called Don't Let Pride Catch You by Surprise. It's targeted at 65 plus single road users who are at risk of fatigue driving. The definition of fatigue is extreme tiredness resulting from mental or physical exertion or illness. And according to the National Center of Biotechnology Information, it is widely accepted that insomnia symptoms increase with advancing age, with prevalence rates approaching 50% in adults aged 65 and above. Fatigue is not simply when you haven't had enough sleep. Fatigue encompasses so much more when you're talking about this age group. It links to their hearing, vision, motor skills, decision-making, not even accounting for the hundreds of thousands of potential medical conditions. In Victoria, you're allowed to drive up to any age on the condition that you're medically safe to drive. You're not required to pass a license test when you reach a certain age, but as you get older, it's actually your responsibility to understand how changes to your health could affect your driving and to monitor your health for any changes. We conducted research on a sample of 26 65 plus singles. From our studies, we discovered that 57.7% of people believe that they are not more at risk on the road due to their age. 80.8% have not got a medical in the last 5 years to test their driving abilities. 73.1% have not had family or friends suggest that they get a checkup. 84.6% haven't even thought about checking in with a doctor, and 76.9% have not even considered what age they should stop driving. Despite their positions, 56% of respondents claim to have decreasing hearing and vision in the last 5 years. This data shows the inherent lack of awareness, specifically self-awareness from this target market. It seems as though they have no motivation nor intention of checking themselves regularly, and by doing so are putting themselves and other road users at risk. The previous campaign focused on highlighting the dangers of drivers whilst fatigued primarily and solely through stats to simply inform their target market of the dangers. This target are not the most frequent road users. Often they only drive 3 times a week, and in doing so believe that they are not at risk. To break this stigma, our campaign doesn't attempt to simply inform our target. We intend to shame, scare, and personalize their experience. We've built our campaign in line with TAC's graphic road ads to really touch and stick in the minds of those viewing. Our TVC shows the effects of fatigue as well as loss of hearing and sight and the life-changing tragedies that can occur as a result. Our targets' values often lie on their social circles. They care more about the safety and well-being of their loved ones than potentially themselves. So by putting their loved ones at risk, we can reach and embed our message in the mind of our audience to change their perspective on the risks of driving fatigued. To effectively distribute our campaign, we've chosen to push our campaign through 3 different distribution channels. We are planning on airing the TVC during primetime news between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. on channels 7, 9, and 10, and partnering up with the AFL to have the ad aired at every halftime. Although studies suggest most age groups are watching less and less broadcasted TV, it is estimated that 95% of people over the age of 60 watch broadcast television. As the complex climate of our country develops, so too does the consumer. In 2015, data from the Australian Communications and Media Authority showed 79% of older 65 plus Australians have access to the internet. And according to a 2012 study by the Australian Interactive Media Industry Association, people aged over 65 spent more than 3 hours per day browsing the internet, and they are responsible for 20% of Australia's total internet traffic. Due to their increased footprint on the internet, we've organised for our ad to be shown on YouTube videos here in Australia. And the final outlet we'll be utilising is the newspaper. A recent report from Roy Morgan shows 76.9% of Australians read newspapers. This percentage is undoubtedly higher among the elderly population. The campaign will be adjusted for the newspaper, but the aggressive message and visual prompts will be used to create the same perspective for the audience. The consumer's decision-making process has been changed from the previous campaign by the Facebook channel. The initial perception of the fatigue driving has changed, as initially their campaign was targeted to try and simply inform the target market of the dangers of driving fatigued, using stats and no real emotional manipulation. We have utilized the target market's values and attitudes by threatening the thing they value, which is the health and well-being of not just themselves, but their family, friends, and inner circle. By aggressively attacking their values, it requires a stronger response by the audience whilst also changing their perspective. This in turn changes their decision-making in the future as they are more concerned about their personal conditions while driving, specifically for the safety of others, subsequently changing their behaviour for the betterment of not only themselves, but also for all the road users in Victoria. Here is...
Hey Dad, do you mind driving me to the train station? Oh, sorry, I didn't realise you were asleep.
No, it's fine. I can take you. I'll be right.
Are you sure? You don't have to drive if you don't want to. I can walk.
It's fine. It's fine. Just give us a minute to wake up. Where'd you want to go again?
You serious? The train station. Are you sure you're alright to drive?
I told you I'm fine.
Whoa!
Oh, jeez, sorry.
Sure you're alright to drive?
I'm fine. I'll be good.
Whoa!
Don't let your pride catch you by surprise.